When I left Christianity and embraced the freedom that exists when you're not in church, I slowly began to realize how homophobic Christianity was, especially in certain circles, Southern Baptist, fundamentalist, Calvinistic, the more traditional denominations of Christianity. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some more liberal, non-denominational groups and churches that are more accepting toward the LGBTQIA population. And, of course, there are others, like the ones I went to as a child. I wouldn't want anyone who wasn't heterosexual growing up in those environments because of all the damage and just biasness that they endure years before they even dare to come out, if ever. It's just sad. And we talked about last time how conversion camps for LGBTQIA individuals, it's just awful. I mean, the amount of emotional, psychological, and physical abuse, torture, and just the worst acts of depravity that happen in those places. And it's all due to bigotry, ignorance, and just hatred for anything that is different. This time I want to talk about how the counselors who are in charge of these conversion camps very seldomly meet the legal qualifications to even call themselves a counselor. They're usually religious leaders who take upon themselves the goal, the role and position of being a counselor without proper training. Now, I'm sure there are a few, several people that have training, but a lot of pastors and people involved in religious counseling, Christian counseling, and conversion therapy, they have not met the minimum or even the maximum qualifications to call themselves a therapist. Counselor is a very loose term for somebody who may or may not have a master's or PhD or even a college degree. In my opinion, based on the legalities involved, if you don't even have a college degree in psychology, you should not call yourself a counselor. You're not qualified. Honestly, I won't even sit as a patient for someone who does not have at least a master's degree in psychology, human behavior, child psychology, like so many different niches. They have to have a minimum of a master's degree before I will let them anywhere near my brain. School counselors have more regulation and legality, red tape to go through than these so-called counselors. You don't know if the people involved haven't a clue on even how the brain works. Personally, anybody who believes homosexuality is wrong, a sin, or unnatural should not even be allowed to rummage in people's brains. I mean, the ignorance involved, the lack of even the most common forms of anatomy and biology and psychology you have to deny that exists in order to justify bigotry and ignorance like that. You shouldn't even have a license to practice psychology. So, how educated are these people? They probably don't have a psych degree. And if they don't even have a master's degree, who knows what crap they're putting into kids' heads. I watched an episode of South Park where I think Butters goes to a conversion therapy Christian camp. And when he gets there, he was paired with some kind of accountability buddy. I think is what the Christians call it. And they had to assign him a new accountability buddy because he was hanging in midair. That's the kind of awful, awful things conversion therapy does to people. I mean, the amount of self-loathing and hatred someone has to be to deny who they are and just be somebody they're not. And even if, at the end of the day, a bisexual person represses their gay side, it's not okay. It's not okay. These people are so terrified of somebody being different. They see them as a threat. And anyone who wants to change somebody drastically like that, who hasn't a clue how the mind works, should not even be allowed around children. They're not a safe place. This is abusive. Telling a child that who they are is wrong and unnatural is downright abusive. And me, knowing the rules and legalities of ethics, if you're uncomfortable with someone's sexuality and orientation, they should not be your patient. If you can't create a judgment-free zone where they feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, feelings, and who they are, you have no business being their therapist. It's therapy 101. If your therapist can't understand you and accept you for who you are, you don't have a chance at having a healthy therapeutic dynamic or therapeutic relationship. And I've taken medical ethics classes to maintain my medical license. If you can't see your patient or who they are as something valid and something that needs to be protected and nurtured, you have no business being a therapist. And God forbid you're near children. These people who call themselves counselors probably has much training as a chem counselor has when it comes to CPR. They almost probably don't have any training unless you count going to a seminary. Conversion therapy needs to be made illegal in every state. Many countries have already made it illegal. I think Canada has made it illegal. I think somebody that has a YouTube channel from Canada, I think his username is Believe It or Not, mentioned that Canadians made it illegal for conversion therapy on anyone under the age of 18. Conversion therapy has been proven by medically competent doctors, therapists, and researchers as causing sometimes irreversible harm and damage to people regardless of your age. And the younger you are, the more danger exists and long-term damage can happen to you, especially during the years when you're still sorting out your identity. There's nothing cute, religious, or loving about forcing someone on threat of physical harm to change the basics of their DNA. Your brain determines, your brain, your body determines what sexuality you are. You don't decide. Your body decides. It's how your brain is wired. You can't change it. I can't change the color of my eyes. I can't change my hair color long term. I can't change my skin color. Those are things that are decided by the genetics of my family. And I don't want to change those things. I see myself as a fully whole, functioning, wonderful human being. I don't want to change who I am. Does that mean that I can't be the best version of myself? Definitely not. But I refuse to change the best parts of myself. And that's what's so important about living in our society. If people can't accept you for who you are and are uncomfortable around you, that's just bigotry, ignorance, and an inability to understand the many wonders of biology. And just because you didn't grow up with anything but heterosexual norm doesn't mean you or me can't learn about it at a rapid pace. I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years. And it's taken some time, but I refuse to do anything but constantly and weekly, daily, yearly educate myself. Anything less, and I would be ashamed to call myself an ally. You just don't do those kind of things. I'm always learning more about the groups of people I vote to protect. I cannot call myself a citizen and a decent human being if I don't constantly fight to protect the rights of people I may not have grown up understanding, but I'm going to find a way now to understand. That's my duty as a decent human being. Conversion therapy camps are evil, awful, based on superstition, ignorance, and just a lack of empathy and compassion for people who don't have to change because they're perfect the way they are. They just may not understand why they are the way they are. And beating on them with Bibles or threatening to throw them in a pool unless they change isn't going to change how their body works.